Hi. So I used to wake up in the middle of anxiety attacks. I'd rush through my mornings, sure that I was falling behind on everything I had to do. And I'd get to university with this running list of tasks I had to accomplish, all the while keeping another list, namely the things I was failing at the top of my mind. And while I still wake up most mornings with a to-do list to the top of my mind, I don't get anxious anymore. Not during the day and not at night. And that's because I've created a lifestyle that facilitates peace of mind. And the first part of that lifestyle is that I have a 3-step process for emergency anxiety relief. This process is important because your rational mind doesn't work during an anxiety attack. That's because your body thinks it's in a fight for survival. And this causes your sympathetic nervous system, which is the system that gets activated in response to perceived threats, to release stress hormones. These raise your heart rate and accelerate your breath. To get your rational mind back online, you need to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the system, also called rest and digest, that promotes a sense of calm and therefore slows your heart rate. And the way you do this is by working with your body, not against it. That's why step 1 for emergency anxiety relief is to practice deep breathing. I don't get fancy with this, I just follow a 4-8 pattern, meaning I inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for 8 seconds. The exact numbers aren't what's important, but what's important is making sure that you exhale for longer than you inhale. That's because during inhalation, your heart gets stimulated to beat faster. And during exhalation, your heart gets the message to slow down. So when you practice this type of breathing for a few minutes, you slow down your heart rate. After you've done that for a few minutes, step 2 is to deal with the physical sensations of an anxiety attack. During an anxiety attack, it can feel as if your body is against you, due to a combination of different sensations, such as a stomach that is in knots or a chest that feels as if it's on fire. And to calm your nervous system, you need to equilibrate these sensations. You do this by first noticing the sensation and trying to name it, such as my chest feels as if it's on fire. And it really helps to close your eyes to do this as you really feel into it. And the next thing to do is to visualize somehow counteracting that sensation. So for the fire in my chest, I would imagine that I was jumping into ice cold water. Or for the stomach and knots, I would visualize a ball of rope that was in knots and slowly unraveling it. Start with the strongest sensation and use that imagery to calm it. Do this for a few minutes and then move on to the next sensation. What you'll notice is that as you equilibrate one sensation, the others will lessen in their intensity. As a result of that deep breathing and visualization, you should be calmer. However, there's still emotional residue stuck in your body, and the easiest way to release that is through movement. That's why step 3 is to do some light exercise. And I would propose doing gentle movement here, like yoga, not necessarily a high-intensity workout. That's because the point of this isn't to burn calories, but to show your body that it's releasing the emotions in a safe environment and that it can move on. What type of movement is best here really depends on you. As I mentioned, yoga is a good choice, but a brisk walk could also be just as effective. I do want to emphasize that the point here isn't just to relax, but actually to get your heart rate up again. That's because exercise releases endorphins, which are natural mood elevators. It also helps to release muscle tension, which is what removes that emotional residue I mentioned from your body. As you're releasing this residue, don't be surprised if you have an emotional reaction such as starting to cry. That's actually good because it means that you're letting go of whatever it is that triggered your anxiety. So this process is for emergencies. The next part is about preventing these emergencies. Because just as you don't wait for cavities to appear before you start brushing your teeth, you also really shouldn't wait for anxiety attacks to start before you start taking care of your emotional and spiritual health. And you do this by making self-reflection and mindfulness a part of your daily routine. The easiest way to do this is through journaling. So journaling doesn't have to mean taking a record of the day's events, but actually just putting your thoughts on paper. Doing so prevents them from running around in your mind. And as you keep this journal, you'll start to recognize thought patterns, which in turn point to habits that are harming your mental health. The second habit to include in your anti-anxiety routine is meditation. By practicing the art of focusing your attention, you learn to tune out the chatter that is your mind. Training the mind to be present and still, meditation promotes a sense of inner peace. And if you suffer from anxiety, meditation will be difficult in the beginning. But don't make that mean that meditation isn't for you. Meditation is just like any other skill. It needs to be practiced. And another useful practice I recommend is emotional freedom technique, also called EFT. EFT involves tapping acupressure points on the body to release emotional tension. I'll admit that I was skeptical of this at first, but especially in emotionally heightened states, I noticed that it really helps me to quickly release the stress. But I think this could also be great as a preventative measure, because by releasing emotion regularly, you make sure it doesn't compile into this big anxiety attack. But the most powerful step of creating an anxiety-free life is also the most difficult one, namely realizing that you are not your mind. Because your thought patterns, your biases, and your limiting beliefs, they aren't you any more than the clutter in your house is. They're simply an endless replay of everything you've heard throughout your life. It's just the attachment we develop to them that gives us the illusion they are a part of us. This attachment looks like thinking you're lazy just because that's what your father called you, or that you're doomed for poverty because that's all you've ever seen. By attaching to those thoughts, you make yourself a prisoner of your own mind, because you only allow yourself to see yourself the way others have seen you. And realizing this allows you to stop taking your thoughts as gospel. Too often we think something is true just because it popped up in our head. If someone you've never met called you an idiot, you wouldn't necessarily believe them. Yet somehow we take our untruthful thoughts seriously all the time. And anxiety is the result of that inner self-abuse. Because by replaying these thoughts over and over, you're putting yourself into survival mode. But by taking control of your inner dialogue, you free yourself from it once and for all. And I think that one of the most important ways to truly free yourself is to allow yourself to believe in your dreams. So if that's something you feel you need assistance with, then make sure to check out my last video, where I give you 3 steps to reject limits and truly fulfill your dreams. My name is Zhenya. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.